So today we are going through the book Being You, Changing the World. And we are specifically going to talk about the creation of money. Ask and you shall receive. That is the tool of the day. Anybody wants to say anything? Have you used this tool? What has it created for you?
Well, am I audible?
Yes.
So generally, the old habits still, die hard.
Mm-hmm.
We only ask when we need something.
Okay. That's
And
okay.
usually the need is, when the need arises, we only ask then. Otherwise, we stop asking.
Okay.
I'm
Thank
talking
you.
about myself. I'm talking about myself when I say. So that habit, it's hard to beat. We forget sometimes when things are going easy. We forget about wanting more for the rainy day.
I totally get what you're saying. Okay, so if you notice, when I asked you, have you used this tool? And what caught your attention is where you're not using it.
Yeah.
Right? And that's how we are all, moving sometimes in our journey where we are looking at what is not working in our life. Okay. And when we look at what is not working in our life, what do you think we create? Exactly that. Right? So what if today we can acknowledge some of those places where we have asked and received? So you go first. Tell me, where have you used this tool? Have you played with this tool? And what has that created for you? Small or big, doesn't matter. Let's not judge that. What if we could just receive the energy of that and talk about it, please? Go ahead, Jai Krishna.
Yeah, that's what I meant. The asking is only limited to our want.
That's okay.
So,
That's okay.
so that is always happening. That has been always happening. But we are not able to go beyond that and make this asking and receiving as a way of life.
I totally get it. Can you share with us a few examples of where you have asked and received?
All the time.
Yeah, just give us.
From unexpected. It's happening all the time for me.
Please tell me a few examples, please.
Okay. There was this, small payment which was eluding me for a long time. I mean, and I had forgotten about it. And then suddenly I get a call from the bank that I need to make some payment. Otherwise, I'm standing guarantee for my son who is getting a student loan. And if my credit score goes down because of that, I'll be in a problem. And suddenly I meet this guy who is in the sales tax department, the GST department. Then I told him about this investment I made while doing business for 10,000 rupees a deposit, which I did not claim. They were giving some fancy excuses. He said, just go and collect it. I'll make all the arrangements. And then this was invested in 1994.
Wow.
And then I go there and suddenly I get 1,30,000 rupees.
How does it get better than this?
Yeah. But, I needed 1,40,000 or 50,000. I got 1,30,000. I did not even wish for, say, 5 lakhs. I did not wish. If I had wanted that if I had tuned my mind to keep getting these things, what initially when I attended, all of life comes to me with, getting ready to get the energy to receive it. That somehow has died upon me and I want to rejuvenate it again.
Awesome. Awesome. Great. Thank you so much for sharing that. Anybody else? Have you used the tool? What has it created for you?
I have not used the tool, but while the experience was being shared, I have received things, but with a bit of delay. Like I've got everything that I wanted, not at the time I wanted, but eventually I got it. Like 2 years back, I was hoping to find a job. I got a job. Then I was like, I cannot make my expenses meet with this job. And I got a raise.
Wow.
So I have got things, but a bit late.
Got it. Okay. So cool. So the more we play with this tool, the more fun we could have. Sometimes we could receive, sometimes we may not receive the way we have imagined it to come. And sometimes it shows up later. Okay. And what if, even if it comes later, we could be in gratitude for that it has shown up. The universe does not work on time.
Eh? Hmm.
I'm sorry, somebody speaking?
Hmm.
Okay, I'll just mute you then. So the universe does not work on time. On the earth, we use time in a big, big way. And sometimes, many times, time is actually limiting us. When you're willing to create beyond time, greater magic is possible. And I so get what Jayakrishan was saying. Very often we don't use this tool. And sometimes, you know what, you're not even using this tool and it just shows up. And that is because you're actually being the tool. Ask and you shall receive. It's not always about asking and then you will receive. Sometimes you're already that energy and that's how things are showing up for you. So if you should ask, hey, I want a job by this month, this date, I want X amount of money for this, it may not show up the way you ask for it. How you ask the question, how do you word the question in a way that could create greater for you? That is also some of the things that we can explore today. So I'm going to start reading the book. Anybody else wants to share anything else meanwhile?
Yeah, I would like to share. I have asked, but sorry, I don't recollect what I've asked and if it's happened to me. But I haven't played much with the tools yet. Now again, today I have asked for something, so which I will get to know in the next few days. I'll surely update that about in the group. So I'm willing to learn more of it and play with it. And hence I would like to join the gift call what you're giving us.
Definitely. Please join in. All Tuesdays we have from the same time and you can forward it to your friends. So this we are going to do it for many more weeks to come. So do join in.
Sure.
And what else is possible? Okay.
Thank you.
So I have played many times with this tool. And yes, I've also missed many times asking. We have been through lifetimes of unconsciousness. And we're just beginning to open up with this tool of ask and receive. And there are so many different ways we can ask. And what is it we can choose that could create greater? So let me read a part of the book. Chapter 4, this is from the book Being You, Changing the World. It's been written by Dr. Dain Heer. Ask and you shall receive. What is your point of view of this world? Is there enough for everyone? Enough food, enough money, enough love, enough space, enough joy? Or is there a limited amount? So that if you, for example, have love, someone else has to do without it. If you have money, then somebody else has to have less of that because you received the money. What if there is no such thing as a limited amount of any of this available to us? What if there was an abundance of love, abundance of money available to each one of us? Now, would you please look at this for a moment? Your point of view creates your reality. Reality does not create your point of view. So if you have the point of view that we live in a universe of lack and scarcity, what reality are you creating? So Dain says that his point of view and his knowing is that we live in a universe of total abundance. The Bible was right about one thing: ask and you shall receive. Isn't it weird? You just ask and you receive. But how? If there is a how, it is just to be present in your life and be willing to receive the energies of another possibility. When being the totality of receiving, you let all your barriers down and receive everything. That is the space that will create greater for you. No exclusion. In ease, joy, and glory, you receive the good, the bad, the ugly. Now, here is a little difficulty for many of us. We want only the good things sometimes, right? And we don't want the other things. If we are willing to receive everything, actually, it will create greater. I remember once I said, I don't want to deal with angry people. I just don't want to do anything with them. It was a very nice cocoon I built for a few weeks or months, I don't remember. And it was, nobody was getting angry around me. It was a very nice space. Okay, I really enjoyed it. And then I became present to it that I was actually excluding a lot of domestic help who might be angry in some way, but they may still be a contribution to me. And I discovered I may be, excluding a lot of clients. And then I discovered that, guess what? I also get angry sometimes. So I'm excluding me. So when we say, I don't want this, and we're excluding certain energies or certain types of people, guess what? We may also be even 1% of that energy sometimes. And so we are actually excluding ourselves. When we exclude ourselves, it's more difficult to create. When we have a barrier to somebody or something, I don't want to speak to angry people. I don't want to speak to these kind of people, those kind of people, or whatever that is. Then we are actually creating a barrier to receiving from them. And that actually reduces our receiving, including receiving of money, including receiving of love. Sometimes, like I love flowers. And if I exclude certain people from my life, maybe the people who can contribute awesome flowers, I may be excluding them. So I just go on WhatsApp and I say, okay, can you send me this flower, this bouquet, this something? How do I know about that person? I may not know about them. And I actually don't care. But if we exclude a certain category of people, and some of the contributions of energies we require are from the excluded category, guess what? Life becomes more difficult. We start saying, no, I don't want from this person, this category, this language, that culture, this country, that thing. Eventually, we just, our sphere of influence, as they call, or the sphere from which sphere of people we can receive from reduces. And then we may feel very contracted. That's where you're building a jail around you. And when you're willing to receive the good, the bad, the ugly, actually, that is the place where we could create greater, receive greater. You may not choose to work with a particular person. Say, you know what? Working with this person is not working for me. They don't pay on time. They pay after God knows when, after many calls or something like that. Up to your business, your way of working. Then you may say, you know what? I'm not working with this person for now. Don't say I'm not going to work with this person forever or these kind of people forever. Just say right now, I'm not choosing to work with them. So then you always have a choice open. In the future, you may receive from them. You also change as a person. And maybe in the future, you could receive whatever that is from that person. Maybe they start, paying on time to you, maybe some other thing, and maybe you just get more empowered. You can deal with such situations greater. So sometimes you're actually disempowering you by saying, hey, I don't want to deal with all these people. So what else is possible? Let's go to the book again, and I'm going to continue reading. If we ask for $1 million today and it doesn't show up tomorrow, we go, oh, the universe does not work. I'm so wrong. I'm doing this wrong, or some other thing. We come to a conclusion immediately. No, I asked, but it didn't come. What has to happen in the universe? Literally, the universe has to rearrange itself for you to have what you have asked for. Then what it's doing, that's what it is doing from the moment you have asked, in fact. Yet what happens is when it doesn't show up, we go into, oh, it's not showing up. And then it stops, of course, because we put a barrier to it. We put a stop to it. And we're wondering, why has it not come? Because we decided and concluded that it hasn't shown up or it's not working. That point of view creates the reality that shows up. So we don't receive that. And then we're like desperate. Oh, but I asked 3 times and it didn't come. Sometimes things may show up after years, not just minutes or days. We shouted out our conclusion onto the universe. It's not showing up. And the universe listened and said nicely, politely, and said, okay, whatever you wish. It just obeyed what you said. The universe has no point of view about you receiving, not receiving. You ask for crap, crap can show up. If you ask for greater possibilities may show up. Now it depends on us what we choose. We may choose crap, we may choose greater possibilities, right? And how do you know? Sometimes we think I have to make the right choice. What if you didn't have to make one right choice? What if there is no such thing? Choose, see how it works for you. And if it doesn't work, unchoose, start again. Start with another choice. When you don't judge your choices, it actually creates greater. Instead, we could be asking, those questions again. Is it actually showing up in a totally different way than I could ever imagine? How does it get even better than this? Please get this, my beautiful friend, says Dain. It's always going to look different than the way you thought it was going to, always. The way you thought it was going to look was based on all your judgments about what it should look like, not based on awareness of what it could look like. Because your judgments of what it should look like kept you from being aware of what it could look like. And all those points of view of what it should look like are precisely why it could not show up before now. Please mute yourselves. And just mute the person. I'm not sure from where the sound is coming. Okay, thank you. So, ask and you shall receive. And what if you didn't have a timestamp along with it to say, I asked at this time and asked 3 times and it didn't show up? What if we didn't have to judge that? Okay, you know us. What will it take for me to allow this to show up? Sometimes we are the ones who are not allowing it to show up. And, like Dain says, we may have asked and the universe is actually rearranging the molecules to contribute to our ask. We don't get it. We immediately expect that actualization. Okay, in 2 months, I want this job that I've decided I should get, and it should be in this company with this amount of money. In 6 weeks, I should get an investment. In 3 weeks, my plot should get sold. I should get the money. So this is how we kind of demand and expect along with it. And along with it comes disappointment and we judge it. What if we didn't have to judge anything? Ask and you shall receive. So keep asking with no points of view. What about you starting to receive? Yes, my dear, you. What do you long for? To be seen, to be heard, to be received in totality? Oh, yes, I can hear you in my head. Of course, dumb question. If you just receive me, then all will be good. I will be validated and valuable. Then I will exist. Here comes my question, says Dain. I think I will whisper it first. What about receiving? You want to hear it louder? What about receiving? Oh, I receive, you say. Of course I do. I mean, receiving is no problem. If someone wants to give something to me, I receive. Of course I do. I love receiving. No. I have no problem receiving. Anyone else who feels a bit heavy? Most people don't receive much on this planet. Have you noticed? Whether you believe it or not, that goes for many of you who are reading this book right now. Just look at this for a second, please. You were always the most capable one around who tried to prove that you were not. But you always knew that nobody had as much capacity as you. So you've always been the one that will be willing to be on your own and do everything on your own, even while thinking you needed other people, which you rarely do. Some people are very, very independent. And they're like, you know what, I can do this on my own. I can do that also on my own, and this and that and that and that and that. That doesn't allow much receiving. What it does allow for is a lot of control and a lot of attempted force to try to create things into existence. So we have to force some things which you desire, but we are controlling it so much, it cannot actualize so easily. Receiving is a totally different ball game. So I'm just going to skip something. Imagine you wake up and it's the first day of spring in some country, let's say Sweden. What is it like? After 6 months of darkness, Sweden has a lot of darkness through the year, and then they have sunlight coming for a few months. So after 6 months of darkness, you're more alive than any time in the freaking universe, or what? You should think, oh, sun, wow. Now you go out in the 0-degree weather, drinking cappuccinos with your face up, turned towards the bleak sun, smiling. You're so happy. It's so cold. You can see your own breath, and who cares? You made it through another winter. That's the feeling of, oh my God, I'm alive. Bring it on, baby. Bring on. I'm hot. I'm really willing to receive this. That's the point of view of, it's a very contrast from the point of view of saying, okay, I'm not going to receive anything from anyone. I'm in my own little bubble, and that is it. I will hold on here and put this barrier up here and that barrier up there, and I totally shut off my body and face. So there, I'm safe. Sometimes we protect ourselves, right? We say, okay, no, I don't want to deal with these kind of phone calls, those kind of spam emails, spam phone calls, or whatever it is. So we are actually looking at how we can be safe. So my question there is, would an infinite being require to be safe? Would you need to protect yourself from all these people? Because when we need to protect ourselves from people, we actually put up barriers that keeps us from receiving from them with ease. Okay, this is chapter 4. So since I'm reading on Kindle and it's on the screen, I'm not looking at the Zoom messages. So if some of you message me, I may see it much later. So I wouldn't know the context. So one of you has messaged, I feel vulnerable. What is the context of that, please?
You said, no, sometimes we shut away from people and we keep away, no? So I do, because I feel very vulnerable and I feel that I want to be all alone.
Got it. What if it's okay to be alone? What if it doesn't matter? What if we didn't always need like 20 people around us to feel safe? What are we afraid of? One of the things we are afraid of is we are afraid of dying. We are afraid of getting hurt. We are afraid that somebody may cheat us. We are afraid that something, whatever that is. Somebody may come and say unpleasant things to us. We may get upset, okay? There are so many things that we want to protect ourselves from. And all those things actually create a barrier for us. What if it's okay to feel vulnerable? You don't have to tell the whole world what's going on with you. If you're willing to admit it to you, that is the first step in vulnerability. What if it's okay to be judged by people? So what if they judge us? We judge them too, right? We're not devoid of judgment. Although it's awesome to be, being at zero judgment state, we're not always that. We have seen people judging others, judging themselves right from our childhood. So we can't help it but copy them. We also do that. So if we are willing to be judged, it actually frees us up. And that is a question to ask. What would it take for me to be willing to be judged with ease? Ask yourself that. Sometimes I ask this question. Don't share it, okay? It's my secret. No, just kidding. So I ask, what would it take for, whoever is judging us a lot, you can ask, what would it take for them, for this person or those people to be so happy, so happy, so happy that they forget me? Now, what am I wishing? I'm wishing that they are happy. And I wish also that they forget me. Okay? I'm not saying let them get out of my world. I don't want to talk to them, right? Because then I will still be creating from their space. I will still be worried. Are they going to show up in my life? Are they going to say something horrible to me? Where is the place I can go run away and hide, right? So instead, I just ask, what would it take for them to be so busy, so busy, so busy, so happy, so happy, so happy that they forget about me? You can play with this tool too. Ask and you shall receive. Okay, so that's just a tool that I created on my own. You see, play with that and see what shows up. So very often in this reality, we have a transactional system, like I'll give you this, you give me that. What if we could create from the space of generosity, where it's not just about, yes, you may pay for some things, but you may get far more. Oh, there is a fruit seller that we buy from sometimes, fruits, and he does such a, great contribution. I would call it exercise. He will go, okay, which fruit do you want? You take this. These mangoes have this kind of variety. These mangoes are like this. Do you want to have mangoes which are sweet, or would you like to have this? What are you going to make? I want to cook this. If you're going to cook a chutney, then this is the kind of mango I recommend. If you're going to make like mango rice, you can do this. If you're going to, he gives so many options. It's like, it's so awesome to just listen to him. And he talks from the space of possibilities. Okay. And that is the space of also generosity, where he's sharing that information with us. And he enjoys doing all this. This is his regular thing. Whoever shows up, he does this with them. At least with most of them, I've noticed. And we've been going to him for years. So he actually charges more than other people, but it's such a contribution just to have that interchange with him. I still choose to go to him very often. So, some of it is nothing to do with money, actually. What if we didn't have to make everything about money? And what if we could have ease with money too? So let me continue reading a bit more. Also, yes, a lot. I'm just going to read this other portion from the book. Dain says, everything here is based on, if I give you this, what do I get? And if I accept this, what do I have to give you? So sometimes, if somebody is going to give us money and we don't like them very much, we're like, why are they giving me money? I don't think I want to receive from them. Who are these people? And why would they pay me? So we get suspicious and we're just worried whether we may become obligated to them in the future. So even that is where we are refusing to receive, actually. There is an alternative, says Dain. As an infinite being, which is what you truly be, you can receive everything. Everything, everything. Does that feel lighter? The thing is, you've got to be willing to choose it. Everything that doesn't allow you to choose it, will you now please destroy and uncreate it all? Yes? Yes, yes, yes. Right, wrong, good, bad, pot, pock, all lines, shorts, boys, povads, and beyonds. Is there anybody here who hasn't heard the clearing statement? I can explain it in case you haven't. Otherwise, I'll assume you have heard it. If you haven't heard it, please don't feel embarrassed. Please unmute yourself and just say you haven't heard it. No problem. We can explain it. Oh, by the way, says Dain, there is no such thing as a money issue. All money issues are created by what you are unwilling to receive. For example, if some of you say, no, I don't have a problem receiving, then look at how much you have received in the past year. In the past year, total up how much you have received, that is actually the total amount of money you're willing to receive at this point. It may change, but right now, this is what it is. And when you take stock of it, sometimes people are embarrassed. They don't even want to know how much money they're receiving. Or they just want to shut off that. They've been told from childhood, oh, calculating money is bad, just shut it off. The minute you start doing that, what are you going to be doing? Always calculating is how to pay your bills. And we'll be scrambling around for the money, but not realizing that that is an area that we're actually choosing unawareness. So Dain is going to talk about a horse that he has, okay? And he says that horse has been one of his greatest teachers. He has learned a lot from that horse. He says, okay, here's the story. I have a horse that is one of the most phenomenal beings that I have ever come across. His name is Playboy. He's an ex-race horse and he used to belong to my friend, Gary. So Gary found that when he and Dain, Gary is the founder of Access, and Dain joined him later, and he's co-created with Gary a lot of things in Access Consciousness. So once when Gary and Dain had gone to this farm, Gary found that this horse actually was waiting for Dain to sit on him, to climb on him, and to ride him. So after a short ride, that Dain went on that horse, Gary said, you know what, I'd like to gift you this horse. This horse has chosen you. Okay, so that's the background about that. Okay, so I'm continuing. So Dain says the horse was an ex-race horse and he used to belong to Gary. Since this is still written by Dain, so since I'm not a good rider, since I was not a good rider at that time, and when he met the horse, he said, I never thought about riding him. Yet he would run around in the place where Gary kept his horse, stops at me and bow his head. Then he would run for a little while more, come back, bow his head again, directly in front of me. Gary tried to sell him, but all the sales fell through. Finally, when we were on a trail riding one day, I asked, Gary, can I ride him? They were far away from civilization, and usually Playboy, this horse, when anybody rode on him, he would just run away. Okay. And he would run away with anybody on his back, and it used to be very uncomfortable for the person on the back. And Dain was not an experienced horse rider. So Gary was a bit hesitant to allow him to ride. He anyway agreed. And Dain climbed onto the horse. And he got the reins practically climbing down to just bending down to the ground almost. And he had no control over the horse's mouth. And Playboy, the horse, actually allows him, waits for him to pick up the reins and waits for him. Then Dain gives the horse a little kick and he starts going on. And actually, the rest of the journey, it's about how these two find each other and are a contribution to each other. And that's when actually he received so much from that riding experience. And animals can be a huge, huge contribution to us. And we can learn a lot from animals. In fact, Gary says he also learned a lot from horses. So Dain says, I know that I had an experience of being on that day. I had an experience of oneness where everything exists and nothing is judged. But it wasn't just tears and space. It was fun. It was intense. It was riding a rocket of non-judgment to a universe of simply, intensely, spaciously, non-judgmentally, joyfully being. I don't know how it occurred, nor do I care. I just know that it occurred, says Dain. And that is also many times in our life, we would have found that we are being something. So even though the topic today was ask and receive, and with respect to money, I'm also talking about being. And the spaces you're willing to be you, that is actually automatically the space of question, the space of curiosity. Here was Dain, a novice riding this horse, and he was willing to receive from the horse, willing to be in the question on how to ride the horse, how to work with the horse, what could be a contribution to the horse, how could he receive from the horse, and so on. So it's like willing to play with that energy. So when you get a sense of being, very often certain things may show up in your life without you even asking for it. So some of you were saying, no, I don't use this tool much. Many things are already showing up in your life. What if you could acknowledge what is showing up? For example, if you have somebody to cook your meals for you, you have already created that. That is showing up in your life. You have somebody to help you with the household chores. Wow, you have somebody already contributing to you. You're already receiving that. If you receive just about enough money to run your household chores and a little bit extra, wow, you have that money. gratitude is the great key to creating greater. When you are in gratitude for what you have received, it actually gets you to a space where you can create even greater, where you could even receive greater. But when we cancel or judge what we have received, oh, I just received this, it's no big deal, everybody receives this, what is there? No, that is a contribution to you. And that is something you have created. So start acknowledging what you have created, what you're receiving, sometimes on a daily basis. So when you're willing to be in acknowledgement of what you are already receiving, you could actually receive greater. Okay, so let me move on to this. Okay, so there's a section here on refusing. I think we spoke a little bit on this. Refusing. Okay, let me still read that. So Dain says this book was published a while ago, and I'm just going to read from this. I've been working continuously on receiving for the last 10 years. And in all the things I have done, it's about receiving more, knowing more, being more, perceiving more. Still, I didn't realize how much I was still refusing to receive. Is it possible that there is something or maybe a lot of things that you are still refusing to receive? Would you be willing to stop refusing right now? From the universe, can you stop refusing to receive? From those around you who truly desire to give to you, can you stop wherever you're refusing to receive from them? So everywhere you're refusing to receive, for example, from Dain, he's written here from me. So everywhere you're refusing to receive from him, from me, from you, from everybody else on this call, are you all willing to destroy and uncreate it all? Right, wrong, good, bad, bot, poc, all nine shorts, boys, boads, and beyonds. So what are the other ways we can ask? Let me play with that. So this was chapter 4, and I'm done with the partial reading of that chapter, unless you have any specific questions, which anyway, happy to take that. So what are the questions we can ask? Some of the most expansive questions are when you ask with the word what. What would it take for this to show up with ease? What would it take for me to choose this with ease? So let's say you want to go on a vacation, but you have a point of view, it's very expensive, I can't spend that money. So your point of view will create your reality, and that money will never show up where you can go on that. So ask, okay, what would it take for me to go on this holiday with ease? And just leave that. Leave the question as it is. And when you leave the question as it is, you're asking the universe to contribute to it. And the universe could actually contribute to that. Just by you allowing the universe and by you asking that question. So once I was going on this flight, and I was in an economy class ticket, and I was booking my seat. I was just checking in and I was booking my seat. So I was thinking, wow, if I had that whole seat empty, all the 4 seats, then in the middle of the flight, I can just lie down and sleep. What a huge contribution. It'll be, wow, so great. Look at the way I'm thinking. It's a conclusion, right? I have a conclusion that this is going to make me comfortable. Is it that I've never slept on a bed? We have comfortable, so many nights of sleep on comfortable beds. So my question was, what would it take for me to lie down with ease on the 4 seats on the flight? Okay. So instead of asking that, I was bored. I didn't feel like asking that. So I reduced my ask, in fact, and I asked, okay, what would it take for me to have an empty seat on both sides of me? Okay. I could make out I was reducing my ask, but I was just doing it playfully and I was willing to laugh it off. I said, what would it take for me to have an empty seat on both sides of me? And I was like, okay. And then I boarded the flight, and really, I got the middle row and there was an empty seat on both sides of me. Okay, that was what was assigned to me. This was an international ticket. It was not a domestic flight. Now, there was another guy sitting near the aisle, one seat away from me. So after I boarded and I sat down, after some time, I realized, hey, it's so funny. This is what I asked for. Ask and you shall receive. So I asked for one empty seat here and one empty seat there, and I got it. I didn't even ask for what if I could lie down here with ease? What would it take for me to receive all the 4 seats to me? So I was very amused, actually. I was really laughing in my head. That's one of the things Access Tools has, given me the willingness to laugh at my choices sometimes. I don't have to advertise it to the whole world, at least to myself. And that creates a lot of ease. So please play with that tool too, where you are willing to laugh at your choices sometimes that don't work for you, yet you chose it for whatever reason. So I asked that guy, I said, after some time I want to lie down. Is it okay with you if I put my head near your seat and then I lie down this way? So he looks at me. He knows exactly where I'm getting. It's so obvious to him and to me. He says, you know what? There's another seat empty there and I'm going to sit there. So you'll have all the 4 seats to yourself. And again, I was laughing so much. And I was wondering, I could have asked for a free upgrade or a paid upgrade to, the business class or the first class. I didn't ask all those things. So like Jai Krishnan was saying, sometimes we reduce our asks or we don't even ask. So the universe contributes only what we ask. So you have a home plate today. Write a list of your asks and look at how to expand. Just write 3 or 4 of them for now and look at how you can expand those asks. If you're asking for less will show up. Who is stopping you from asking greater? We are the ones stopping ourselves. There is no one who is powerful enough to stop you or to slow you down. Guess what? It's only you who slows you down. Only you who stops you. The rest are excuses, are reasons, are justifications. People say, no, if I had lots of money, then I would have done that. If this was then I would have done that. Now I have young kids to bring up, so I'm not free, so I can't do that. So these are all our reasons and justifications. I have a job, so I'm not free enough to do all those things. We keep on building reasons and justifications for choosing less. And those of you who have my email address, I will send the recording to you. Do send me what are your asks and your expanded asks. So write a list of these were my asks initially, and these are my expanded asks. In case you know my WhatsApp number, please WhatsApp to me. It'll just be fun to know. Keep connecting and let's see what else we can create. Don't ask questions with how. There are 2 questions we can ask with how. For example, we can say, how does it get better than this? When you ask, how does it get better than this? You're asking the universe to show you possibilities that could create greater for you. So when things are going well, ask, how does it get better than you? It can get even better. And when things are not going well, do ask, how does it get better than this? And it could even get better too. And what else is possible is another tool. It opens up new possibilities, new ideas for us when we ask what else is possible. Now, other than the phrase, how does it get better than this? Another question with how is, how did I get so lucky? So think of some place where you got something with a lot of ease. You got a job without even applying for it. You got a lot of money to pay for something, whatever it is. Ask, how did I get so lucky? Ask for that to show up for you. How did I get it so lucky? So the universe will start contributing again that energy of how did you get so lucky for that aspect of life? Don't ask why. Why is this always happening to me? This is a very common thing. If you ask why, you will be in a loop in the same place trying to understand why. So ask what? What would it take for me to have so much fun that I never imagined possible? So there are many more expansive questions. I have a YouTube video which is about 3 minutes or 5 minutes long that also has a lot of questions, expansive questions that we can ask. Anybody has any questions? Otherwise, I'm coming to the end of this call today.
I just have a question, Deepa.
Sure.
So you said whatever we ask, universe gives it to us when it's the right time. For example, I asked for 2 ice creams. is there a possibility that universe might give me like 5 ice creams at a
You can
time?
ask, what would it take for me to receive 2 or more ice creams? For what reason would you just say, okay, I need only X amount, so I just ask for that?
Okay.
Or more. So if the universe desires to contribute more, it could. Now, the universe doesn't always immediately give that. Like, you may ask for some things. Like we asked Gary once, okay, Gary, have you always received things as soon as you asked? He said, no, there was this Turkish carpet I had asked for, and it showed up after about 20 years, he said. Okay, so our expectation and disappointments attached to that actually, and also our judgments attached to that actually slow down the process, because periodically we don't even realize we have said, nothing turned up. Okay, forget it. I'm not going to ask for that. And we cancel our ask, right? So what if you could acknowledge and ask again? And the universe will show it in its own time, not in the time that we have asked. Yes, Lakshmi, you have a question.
No, I like to share one thing. We wanted to build a cupboard under our steps.
Go ahead.
Sorry.
Yeah.
And what happened was we called many wardrobe guys to do, but we were not happy. And it became 5 years. And sat near the space and I asked, tell me what you want and how you want. Because I was an opinion not to have cupboard there, but my mom wanted. I just let go it, no judgment. Trust me, I got a very good modular kitchen guy, cupboard wardrobe guy. He came and he's designed it so nicely. And with what colors I had in the mind.
Wow.
And I think now every day I sit and I admire that place. So I appreciate what you said is right, because we are so demanding in time, but when we let go, things manifest beautifully.
Right. And if you noticed, you also said that you didn't want that. So, your point of view creates your reality. How powerful is your thought that even though your mom wanted it, you made sure it didn't show up for 5 years until you allowed it?
So true.
Ask and you shall receive. So sometimes we think that we are willing to receive, but we don't realize that we are so powerful. We've actually stopped that from actualizing, from showing up in our world. Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for joining in. Any other questions anybody has? Yes, Preeti, go ahead.
So I have a property, and it's been a year that I've been looking to put on rent. And I've done all the energy pull, ask and receive, everything like, whatever somebody suggested, some vastu correction, I did that. And so what can you tell me or facilitate me over here? It's been a year, and that's quite a good source of income for me. That's one of my revenue stream, which is very contributive.
Okay. In whose name is that property?
In my name.
Nobody else's?
No.
Okay, cool. So what would the property like? Does it want to be rented?
Yeah.
Okay. Ask, whom would you like to have living in you? What would it take for them to show up with money in hand? So sometimes we think we have to do the stuff like this, like that, like this. Ask the house to go create that. And sometimes even if the rent is not coming in, the house can still be a contribution. There was a period where we had rented out this house that I live in now. We had rented it out, and there was a gap in the tenancy. There was no tenant. There were no tenants. So I kept asking, what's this going on? Actually, this is the right time. People will be shifting countries from different cities. This is a new school year starting. This is the right time for people to move in. And people were coming to see the house. They were very happy, but it was just not actualizing. Then I asked the house, what do you want? Do you really want to be rented out now? And I got a no from the house. I was like, really? We have an EMI being paid on this house. And if you're not going to be rented, how would we pay that EMI? So the house says, I'll take care of it. I need a few months off. I was like, really, this is interesting. Is this my imagination that I'm imagining this? I said, okay, let me check with my husband. And I asked him, okay, just connect with the house. What do you get the house is saying? He says, it doesn't want to be rented now. We've been thinking it wants to be rented. And both of us got the same kind of a thing that it doesn't want to be rented. Then I asked the house, can you get us more rent? So for a few months, we're going to be without rent. Would you be able to get us greater rent when eventually you're okay with getting rented out? And the house said yes. And we actually, when the tenants showed up after about 6-8 months, I think the house got rented, and we got far more rent than all our neighbors at the time. So you can request different things of the house. And sometimes you ask the house to get you money. It may get you money from some other place, not necessarily from the rent. Sometimes we think, I've asked the house to contribute money, I'm waiting for the rent, nothing has come. So this is how we look at it. Instead, if we allow the house to contribute to us, it can contribute in so many different ways. You got to be willing to acknowledge that that is also a contribution. If we were not particular about which is the way it shows up in our space, and be in gratitude for whatever shows up, actually that creates greater.
So I have been in question and communicated with it's an commercial place, and yes, I've been doing that, So
Let's see. Sometimes it's something else that, not just requires 1 or 2 clearings. It might be something far greater. Okay.
yeah, that is there, always there. Yeah, you trust what's right about this, and yeah. Thank
What's
you
right
for sharing.
about this, I'm not getting. Ask the house, let me know in a way that I get it. What is it you're communicating to me? Sometimes we're not willing to get it. And then somebody else may indicate that to us. And then you may get, oh, okay, is this what is going on?
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
take a personal facilitation with somebody. Sometimes that helps, okay, with some facilitator. That might help and open up some things. Just be in the question, what can be a contribution to me? Who can be a contribution? Sometimes it's like reading through a book, something may open up, or a YouTube video, when you click, something opens up. Just be in the question. What's right about this I'm not getting?
Yeah.
What would it take for me to receive money from this house with ease?
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you all for
Deepa, I had a quick question.
Yes.
Hi. I just wanted to ask that, how do you, when you say that I asked the house, is there a procedure that you follow to ask the house, or?
Sorry, who is this? I can't make out.
My name is Shushmita.
Shushmita. Okay. There is no procedure. You can just ask.
Oh.
What if
So
there
do
is
we
no
have,
significance about this?
so we don't have to kind of visualize or hold the walls or something?
Nothing.
Okay, great.
Okay.
Thanks.
Shall I take a picture?
Yes, sure. I'll just stop the
Yes.
recording. Just give me a
Yes.
second.